wet the whistle a little bit before I start going and talking some shit.
Right, I hear you. There's gonna be a lot of shit talking here.
Yeah, man, I like to talk a little bit of shit every now and again. Respectful shit. One thing that I notice about fighters is that, you can't be too disrespectful to fighters. Because when it comes down to it, it's like you guys fucking train and bust your ass and get punched and kicked and choked out and your limbs hurt and your shoulders hurt and your knees hurt. It's like, all right, man, I'm not going to be too mean to that guy. He got punched in the face for a living for the last whatever amount of years. So anyways,
I'm tired of it.
Yeah, anyways, welcome back to Talksmackwithmac MMA. This is episode 2, people. I'm trying to do big things. We got Cage Wars 52 coming up April 29th. There's going to be some fucking crazy fights on the card, slanging and banging. But today I got my new friend, Jayson Hackett. He's sitting in his car. He's prepped. He's ready to go into his class today to kick some fucking ass for his upcoming fight and just be ready. But like I said, I appreciate your flexibility, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You caught me at good timing. You were like, hey, you got time? I was like, I got just enough time.
Yes, man. I love how things work out like that. I have one guy drop out, another guy fills it in, so we're doing big things.
Word, the world just falls all right in line.
Yeah, hey, things happen for a reason, and we're here talking to one another as we should be. But anyways, you got a fight coming up April 29th. But before we talk about that, I know you just had your first fight at Cage Wars 50, right?
Yeah.
Back in January. So you're just a few months removed. You won that fight. Congratulations. Go through that. Tell me about like your butterflies. How were you feeling before the fight, coming up to the fight, when you were in the cage, where you were letting them fucking hands go? Tell me everything.
Man, before the fight, it was like, all right, it's like stick to everything I've been drilling, stick to everything I've been practicing. When you hear those doors lock, all that, goodbye. It's an adrenaline dump. So it's like after the first round, right? And I give all respect to my opponent, Adrian Morales. Much love. We still talk. But after the first round, it's like, woo, shit.
Yeah, right.
I got 2 more rounds.
That's nice, man.
But yeah, he's a good guy. I give him nothing but respect. It was a lifetime event for your first fight. It's something you don't forget.
Yeah. And
I honestly can't wait to just keep doing it more, because it's like every time I step in there, it's a little bit more comfortable I get every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know my next opponent, Hylton, he's like a upper gradable grappler, and I give him all the respect for that. I think he's got his purple belt now.
Nice.
Seems like a outstanding character himself, and he'll be quite the challenge. I can't wait for it.
One thing that I noticed about fighters is, traditionally a lot of fighters have respect for another guy or the guy they're going up against. They know the work that they put into place. Is there any people like in your gym that you don't really like and you're like, man, fuck that guy? You don't have to say names, but how is it inside your gym?
I mean, it's hard not to be biased, but everyone is. So we're always going to have that personal conception of someone. But I try not to hold it against them, because they're there for the same reason I am, to learn, kick ass. But at the same time, it's like, are you my favorite? I don't think so.
Those guys that, choke a little bit longer, in practice.
Yeah, it's like, you're getting a little greedy.
Yeah, there's a couple assholes. There always got to be. So, all right. So first fight, you have those butterflies, I'm assuming. How was the night before? How'd you sleep?
No sleep night before. No sleep. I laid there. It was like 4 a.m. I looked at the time. I'm like, yep, no sleep tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And then the night after, there was an after party at Cage Wars right at the casino.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, I think I stayed at the after party for like maybe 30 minutes. And I was like, yep, I'm going right to bed.
All of that adrenaline finally wore off, and you're like, yeah, man, I'm going to crash.
Yeah, my body wasn't even running on sleep. It was just caffeine and adrenaline.
Yeah.
Like, that's your reason why I fought.
So I've heard other fighters talk about their first fight, and like you said, it's just like a big adrenaline rush. How much of like what you learned actually stayed with you and composed, and you actually went through your teachings versus you just fucking slanging and banging because that adrenaline takes over?
It all kind of stuck with me. I know in the first round I clipped them pretty good, and he dropped to his knees, and I'm like, okay, well, that's right there. And then if I do that, that will fall in line next. And then everything just started clicking together easily.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it became that muscle memory for me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you know, it's like, what's he going to do next? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I can understand that muscle memory, you know, taking over. That's why you drill so much in practice, some of the same stuff over and over, techniques and scenarios and stuff like that. Like, I guess when that muscle memory stopped, how did you know, take advantage of what was coming next? And your brain, like you said, is sets up one thing and then you see the next thing coming. But when he's intervening and trying to stop everything, how are you staying composed?
My biggest thing for staying composed, as long as I hold like a better control of the fight or the situation, I know that gives me enough time to reimburse my own thoughts of, okay, strategy time, you know, like what's next. Mm-hmm. But as long as I'm not in a bad position, then the panic doesn't really hit in. Then it's like, okay, now it's not fight or flight. Because for your first fight, you know, like if you wind up in a bad position, probably your instincts are going to kick into like, okay, well, I better turn this way. But if you turn that way, you're going to expose your back. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's hard trying to stay composed, but at the same time, it's there. It's just you need to make that right decision.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough, man. And like you said, the more you get into the cage, the more you face adversity in that type of way, the more composure you'll have going forward.
Right.
Yeah, man, that's nice.
Yeah, during the first fight, you know, we were talking about the butterflies, and mm-hmm. It's you know, when they announce your name and your weight and etc., you know, it really sits in right there, and it's like, okay, so this is really happening.
Yeah, I like that, man. I bet you at that moment, I can only assume that you felt like you were going to shit on yourself.
Yeah, right. It was one of those moments.
Yeah. So how'd you get into fighting? Take me all the way back to like your day one.
Day one was probably like 7th grade in middle school when I first joined the wrestling team. Nice. And before all that, it was always, you know, like mixed practices of like, okay, well, here's how you shoot a double leg. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. But then when I hit like the school collegiate level, it's like, oh, okay, so now I can start taking it a little bit more serious, right? So I wrestled for like 10 years, maybe 11, got good at it. And then I graduated, so I was like, well, shit, you know, I need something else to do after graduation. So my older brother, Corey, he got me into the jiu-jitsu room. And from there on, they were like, yeah, you can compete in jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, no way, you know. It's been 3 years now since I first started jiu-jitsu. And then I think it was, Jacob Kerrigan. I trained with him, and he got me hooked onto the MMA scene. He's like, listen, you know, you got the good wrestling, you got the good grappling. Now you need the good striking, and you'll be a really good fighter. And it's like, okay, you know, like, are you going to train me? He goes, yeah, for sure, I train you. So he's been training me up at my school. A lot of different people have been helping out. And from here, it's just up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Starting with wrestling so long ago, that's fucking awesome, dude. You have that foundation to keep you going forever.
Right. You know, and it's like everyone tells me, you know, like you see a lot of guys in the UFC and they seem to forget their roots. And just because they're good in another area, they'll try aiming themselves more toward that and forget what they're strongest at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that. Jayson Gaethje is a good example. You know, he could wrestle his ass off, but he has thunder in his hands. It's like, man, why do I need to go wrestle somebody? I just want to knock you the fuck out.
Right. Yeah. He's got that one hit that'll send you to meet your mom. You know?
Yeah, man. His reaction is so nasty when he slips to his right and shoots that uppercut, or if he slips to his left and throws that hook over the top. Man, that dude is fucking awesome. I cannot wait for this weekend.
Oh, Gaethje versus Oliveira?
Yes.
All right, what's your prediction for it?
Man, I don't know. I can't really count Oliveira out. What's he on, like 11 or 12 fight win streak? And
12.
I mean, he's faced so much, adversity already. When it was Michael Chandler, right? That was just dropping bombs on him. And that goes back to the composure that we were talking about earlier. The composure that he showed was true champion like composure to be able to weather the storm and then get the fucking submission after. So,
right.
You got the submission early in the second round against Michael Chandler. Now, we just seen Justin Gaethje smash Michael Chandler too. So I don't know. Is Justin Gaethje going to be able to have the power to put Oliveira down, or is Oliveira going to be able to give, Gaethje on the floor and tap him out?
I don't know. They're both good scramblers. So I think when it goes down to the ground, I think Oliveira is going to have a real hard time getting the submission.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's honestly going to go all the way.
I hope so, man. That is this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then there's also Aljo and Jan. There's so much adversity with that fight, man. I can't fucking wait to watch that because they've been just straight talking mad shit to each other ever since the last one.
Dude, Jan's got that in the bag all the way.
That's what everybody's saying.
He was running through Sterling last time. And the only reason that saved Sterling was that illegal knee.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that saved them from keeping that belt.
And then the illegal knee, and then the picture afterwards that Aljo took is what the MMA world storming and just talking so much shit about this guy. So he has to come out and win because you can't. He's already labeled a fake champ, or just people throwing so much shade and hate at him. If he goes out there and just gets obliterated, he's gonna have a hard time coming back.
I don't think there will be a comeback after that.
Oh.
Either that or he might have to move around some weight classes, find his new spot. But Jan's going to strip that from him.
Jan is so nasty, dude. He's like the Terminator in there.
He's like a walking... All right, I think he fights at 135, 120. Correct me if I'm wrong. 135?
I believe it's... I think it's 35. No, it's 25.
Is it?
Yeah. Because there's
a 125-pound tank.
Volkanovski is 35, right?
That's featherweight. He's 45.
45?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, he might be 35 then.
There's some big 35-pounders.
Yeah, man. There's some big ass dudes. They just strip down every single ounce of anything fat on their body, and how much is that weight cut going to affect the fighters? Though, did you see how much Aljo was celebrating when he made weight?
Yeah, but you also got to see how much he cut, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He easily walks around at maybe 145, 150. I would most definitely positively say.
Yeah.
Because from his weight cut, you can see how defined and how dehydrated he actually was just by his chest. Just by taking one glance at that, you're like, you don't look good.
Mm-hmm. And people that have never done a weight cut, which I have never done a weight cut, so I'm only spitballing here. That shit is going to fucking drain the shit out of you.
Yes. Because it'll start tapping into your gas tank, and then it'll just keep depleting you.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, so say if you're out of 100 on your stamina bar, we're going to bring it to like video games now. After a heavy fucking weight cut and only one day to rehydrate, that 100 is now maybe like a 70 or like a 75.
Right. And, I remember like back in high school, I think it was my senior year, I had to cut 6 pounds in 2 hours, right? And it was all to make 152. It was all to make 152. My coach threw me on that treadmill and was like, get running. And then I wrestled like shit the whole day. I was like 1-3 the whole day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So right there just goes to show, once you start weight cutting that much in a short period amount of time, you're not going to amplify to your best.
Yeah, definitely not. So let me ask you a question, man. If you can go all the way back to your day one, to 7th grade, when you stepped on the wrestling mats, what advice would you give yourself?
Give it a little bit more every day. Just do that. Because, that's what I think that's where I fell short a little bit was towards the end of my wrestling career. I kind of started giving up on it because I knew I wasn't going to be going to college with it, So this is it. You know, I kind of goofed off, but like if I did take it a little bit more serious, you know, where would I be? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And especially at that age, you don't think of shit like that.
Right. You know, you don't really have someone hounding over your ear, you know, saying, hey, you know, push.
Mm-hmm.
You only get that in the room. You don't have that outside of school, you know, outside of the practice room. It's not just all around you. It's that self-determination gig, you got to drive yourself. You're not always going to have someone in your ear whispering, hey, you know, one more, let's go, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It's really all up to you after that point.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Yeah, you know, going into adulthood, I was just talking to one of my boys about this. You know, I train because I like to. I don't have to. My job doesn't tell me to. My parents don't tell me to. You know, I do it myself. So if I don't go in there for a week, that's all on me, man. So going back to being a kid or going through middle school, high school, to put that burden, it's all on you at that young of an age. That's tough.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, you'll have help from coaches, you know, your professors, stuff like that, but they're not always going to be around either. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can't wake you up early and, you know, help you before you go to bed and tell you to recover and all of that shit.
Right.
All right. So oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like I was saying, you know, a lot of it's just the self-research on your own body because, you know, everyone's body is so different from the person next to you. It's just that you have to find out what your body needs for itself.
Yeah.
And I honestly wish I knew that a long time ago, you know, because I always thought, you know, the body is just like a machine. All machines run the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, that is so wrong.
Yeah. I completely agree because, you know, rolling out may help one person with a bad back, whereas rolling out could hurt another person, you know, with their back. So, yeah, person dependent and trying to find a specific thing. That's important, man.
For sure.
Yeah. So your last fight was 3 months ago, right? Back in January. How do you feel like you've grown as a fighter in this, last 90 days?
Definitely a lot more comfortable. Before it was kind of just like winging it, saying, okay, well, I'm going to use this and call it good. Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't really happen that way. So, and I know this time around, you know, like there's certain scenarios where I play out in my own head, as probably does everyone else before they fight. You know, it's like, okay, if I end up here, I'm okay because I do feel comfortable there and I know what to do from there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's the difference between from then till now is those 90 days may not seem a lot, but when you're putting in the work every day, you know, that does go a long way compared to someone else only utilizing 30 to 60 days of that time and the rest of the time fucking off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to make no progress. But if you keep pushing consistently, there will be progress and you will see it in the end.
Yeah. Definitely, especially if you know your weaknesses. If you could pinpoint what weakness that you have, and then say, for instance, in the last 90 days, you drilled that particular weakness. Now, say if it's like being on your back on the ground. Now, when you're on your back in the ground, like you said, I'm composed. I know what to do here. I'm not really mentally draining myself as if I would 90 days ago.
Right. And, you know, that's where I see a lot of guys fail as when they pull that guard. They think they're safe, but in reality, you know, like they're just playing into their opponent's game and they don't know it yet. Yeah, the whole fight game, it's a mind fuck.
It is, man. There's so much that goes into it. You could be one hell of a wrestler, but say if you're going against a guy that has amazing takedown defense, but he's fucking dynamic, standing up, throwing his hands and kicks, you're going to struggle. So it's a mind fuck. How do I get this guy down and take advantage of what I'm good at? And your opponent's thinking the exact opposite of that. So it's definitely a mind fuck, man. It's like playing a game of chess.
Right. And I know for my last fight, they told me going in that it was going to be wrestler against striker. So I was like, oh, great. You know, I'm going to get pieced the fuck up.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, that was my constant fear. I thought he was going to stop all my takedowns. I thought he was going to drill my nose around the side of my head. Yeah. No, thankfully it did not play out that way. But, yeah, that was a big fear of mine. Striker against wrestler? Yeah, that's going to go swell.
Your opponent on April 29th, what type of fighter is he?
I know he's a really good grappler. I watched his film from his last fight. His striking's decent, as is everyone in the amateur league. You can't really pick apart and tell, he's got professional striking. Well, it's still amateur league, so it's hard to tell because you're not really fighting anyone of professional league either. We're all just amateurs.
Yeah.
So it is hard telling, and a lot of people will be like, well, what would you do in that situation right there when we're watching the film? And it's like, I can't tell you because they're not me. They don't fight like me. They don't react like me. So I can't tell you.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, man.
But, and when we were watching the films or whatever, or even for our other friends who fight, when we watch their films, it's like we tell them, you can't put yourself in that scenario because you're not going to react the same as that person did. But you're going to have to react the same as you do when you practice or go to class, because that's where you're going to get your initial killer instinct from, and your muscle memory starts to ponder and wander from there.
Gotcha. How many days a week are you in the gym?
6.
Yeah, nice, man. And
Sunday, Sunday.
What are you doing for recovery?
So recovery, all I do is just stretch it out. That's it. Stretch it out, ice, maybe occasionally like once a month an ice bath, but that's about it.
So how long are you stretching for?
So I'll stretch before every time I do anything. And that's because I know that I want my hips more flexible. I just want more calisthenics throughout my body, to be able to adjust on its own, etc. But if it's like after a hard class or a hard workout, I'm stretching for like another 45 minutes.
Nice. That's where I'm lacking at, man. So I stretch. Don't get me wrong. I stretch, but I'm not stretching for 45 minutes after a hard workout. I think I'm fucking up. I need to step my stretch game up.
I have to. If I don't, I'll get so tight. And then like this week, I'm on overnights, right? And I'll go to class. And if I don't stretch out, I'll be like immobilized. I'll be a vegetable at work. I will do worse shit.
I feel your struggles, bro. Hey, well, Jayson, I appreciate you jumping on to Talk Smack with Mac MMA. You got a fight coming up in a few weeks, man. I'm a new fan of yours. I'm definitely going to check out that fight. And if you want to come back on afterwards and talk about that experience, you are more than welcome.
Hey, whenever, give me a call.
I appreciate it, brother. Kick ass in class.
Hey, thank you, man. Have a good one.
You as well.